likes and we got views, so maybe that means something. Okay, looks like we're locked on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is your host, Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, coming to you live from the busted up streets of Fullerton, California, under sunny, clear skies here in southwestern United States of America. Coming to you in the name of Jesus Christ, in the name of truth, folks. And today is Monday, September 26, 2022. Houston, we have a problem, right? Remember that famous line from, the fake moon landing stuff? All right. I want to talk to you about why we have a problem, folks. You see, many years ago, you and I were born, right? Some of you longer ago than others. But one thing is certain, that we came into this world with our eyes closed. Okay, and this is very important that you understand this. The fact that we were born with our eyes closed is not just a spiritual issue, it is a physical issue, folks. And I want to talk to you about why this is important, because some people to this day continue to have their eyes closed physically. It's called cognitive dissonance. This is your host, Joe Imbriano, PO Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834. On the web at thefullertoninformer.com, 5gdangers.com, WiFiDangers.com, VaxDangers.com, CellTowerDangers.com, and the up-and-coming site MetaverseDangers.com. That's the latest edition, in addition to the many others that I have worked so hard to make known to the masses, right? So what is with this blindness, folks? What is with people closing their eyes to what's going on? I was in a Costco yesterday with my wife, and there was this lady. She was in the checkout line near us, and she had a mask on, and she must probably have been about maybe 40 years old, and she had 2 or 3 children with her, ages ranging from like 4 to like 6, and all 3 of the children had masks on. And I said to my wife, what's going on here? I thought, Biden said the COVID-19 operation was over. And, they're talking about on the news how they don't have to wear these things on public transit in LA County anymore. And yet they're still wearing them, right? Well, it's kind of the same thing as people conserving water. They're thinking that we're running out of water. And it's kind of the same thing about people moving away from gasoline cars, thinking it's saving the environment. It's kind of the same thing as people moving away from eating meat because they think it's saving the environment. It's kind of the same thing as people moving away from owning land and growing food and living in compact cities in little small arrangements for the convenience. It's kind of like people just putting things in their bodies without reading the ingredients nor understanding what the chemical composition and physiological effects of consuming these products are. It's kind of like people just watching the idiot box, not knowing what's coming next, not even knowing who's producing and creating the content, not even understanding the flicker rate manipulation, not even understanding the intent of the programming. It's kind of like people listening to this music where they can't understand the lyrics, but they sing and hum along with it. It's kind of like people sending their children to school, not realizing what their children are being taught, why they're being taught what they're being taught. Are we up, folks? All right, let's just give it a second here. So what is happening is people are purposefully turning a blind eye to what is happening. It's intentional, folks. People are doing it because they are afraid. They are afraid of the reality. They are afraid of the consequences. Why? Because I'll tell you why, folks. They are guilty of the worst sin of all. It is called cowardice. In the Bible, it talks about the cowards, folks. They're the first in line for the lake of fire. When you understand that in Revelation I believe it's 21:8. It talks about who's in line for the lake of fire. And it's not the people that you think. It's the first ones in line for the lake of fire are the cowards, folks. Now, when I talk about all these things that are happening to us, when I talk about all these things that are being done to us, when I talk about all these things that are being told to us, when I talk about all these things that are being fed to us, when I talk about all these things that are being injected into you, notice I didn't say us. I didn't include myself in that. I'm trying to warn you. You have been fed an alternate reality since you were born. This alternate reality is based on malice, deception, tremendous intent to harm, and the most horrific consequences of all, the intent to induce eternal damnation by making a physical blindness become a spiritual blindness. Now, it is possible to close your eyes physically. It is also possible to invite the closure of your eyes spiritually by hardening your heart and inviting God to turn you over to a reprobate mind and deliver you to the wicked, evil desires of your heart. Now, I know people that have ended up in that position. You got to be really careful what you wish for in life, what you yearn for in life, what you desire in life, ladies and gentlemen, because I want to tell you something. God has a very interesting plan, and it's one that he has laid out clearly in his word. God will give you the desires of your heart, ladies and gentlemen, so you better make sure that what you desire is what you're ready to deal with. Now, I know people who push their children off a cliff to excel academically in hopes that they will achieve the form of intellectual arrogance that they as parents have achieved, that has in reality created a sense of ruin in their lives by allowing themselves to be turned over to the desires of their heart. And as a result, they're permanently affixed and part of a system that they cannot escape, and consequently have subjected their children to being slaves of and being owned by this system, namely the educational system. I know a lot of people who are in that system, folks, because it takes a person with an average IQ and pays them a pretty decent salary to sit home and watch TV all summer, because that's what they do. But the downside is the brainwashing, not only that they are under the influence of, but the brainwashing that they are proliferating, that is resulting in a world stage that has become a horror movie. This blindness that is a result of intentionally closing your eyes is the worst you to darken your heart even further and turn you over to a reprobate mind so that you can do things that will destroy you and your family. The wonderful thing is he can send his spirit to open your eyes so that you can flee from these things and get involved in a solution. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, you know, folks, I'll tell you, I might as well go into this since we have the time and since the signal is strong. Everything that you've been taught has a reason behind it, folks. There's a reason why education's free. And there's a reason why it's quote unquote mandatory, because it's an agenda. All right. When you understand the agenda with education, you'll understand what is going on. What is the first thing you see when you walk into a classroom? The globe, right? Right? It's on the teacher's desk. And you know what? Every single one of these people that's playing ball with the cabal's got a globe on their desk. You watch for the placement. You watch for the symbolism, folks. You know, whether it's these people in the truth movement, they use the globe as a... You know how they make that hand sign that shows their allegiance, right? Well, the globe is another sign of their allegiance, folks. The spinning ball lie, right? And, you know, what is the big deal with that? I mean, why is it such a big deal? I hear Christians all the time say, hey, you know, what's the big deal? Well, I'll tell you what the big deal is, folks. We've already gone into the fact that that's how they hide God, the fact that we're in a closed system, and the fact that everything is a lie that we've been taught about space and NASA and all the... And the reason why we're traveling so far now into space is because the green screen technology has reached new heights. And the IQ of the average person is approaching room temperature, so they can get away with the lousy graphics and still convince people that they got clearer photos on the moon of Jupiter than they do of my backyard from a so-called satellite, right? Folks, it's a joke. They're hiding God. They're hiding the existence of God. They want you to believe there is no God so that the licentious behavior of those at the top will trickle all the way down so they can have their way with you and I and have no sense of guilt or recourse on our behalf in terms of fighting back, because we'll all be afraid to die. Okay? That's the goal, is to make us cowards and afraid to die. They're hiding God with evolution. They're hiding God with the spinning ball. It's a lot easier to convince the masses from a young age with product placement and screen time, green screen, all these effects, all these lies built upon precept upon each other, that we're on a spinning ball. It's a lot easier to believe that some explosion trillions of years ago resulted in the coalescing of these balls of gas and molten mass that have turned into these things that we are supposedly spinning around on, that all these things are living on, right? I mean, that's a real leap right there. It takes a lot more faith to believe that nonsense than it does to believe who created it. Folks, there is a closed system under which we live. All the rockets go up and they hang a right. All the spacecraft go up and hang a right. Why? Because they can't get out, folks. They'll try to penetrate the water up there. There's water up there. If you watched any of these launches, I think the SpaceX ones, you could see they hit the water. And you could see the pressure wave off the front of this so-called rocket or missile. As they're trying to get through the water, folks. But the deal is, not only are they hiding God and they want you to die and die in your sins and deny Jesus Christ and serve Satan and live in fear to feed the loose, the demonic realm, your entire life as they mass produce this stuff with the screens and the movies and the music and the video games and the books and the novels and the newspapers and everything else they can shove in your face for intellectual consumption, right? The curriculum, all of it. All of the British lit, the Tavistock crap, the Shakespeare suicide, death education garbage, right, that they shove down your children's throats. Well, one of the big things right now that's a big deal, folks, is the water. Now, the water's all under the ground. There's an endless supply of water under the ground. The continents go up and down on the water. That's what makes the tides, folks.